Peace, everybody. This is Enigma, and I have a new video today. But first, I want to talk about the Biden voters, the people who actually was told that if they didn't vote for Joe Biden, they weren't black, and they went out there in droves and voted for Joe Biden, made him president, and have absolutely nothing to show for it. No policies, no resources, and zero. Kamala Harris was just allocating private investment in South America to help people from migrating to America. She was saying, looking at the root cause of why people are coming here, but she never looked at the root cause of why so-called black people was committing so-called crimes and in poverty. When she was a prosecutor in California for nearly 20 years, and now she's a vice president, and she's out here allocating money to foreigners and not the so-called black community who voted for her. With all of you silly, ignorant people who actually went out there and voted for Joe Biden, I need you to go to my website, ignigma.com, and there you can find many of my products, many of my books that I've been distributing for the last 13 years. Let me show you. This is enigma.com. This is a book of poetry I created. Parts of Man, The Declaration of Truth. You know, you can get that for on sale, $9.95. It's Enigma issue number 1. You can get that number 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a book, Mind Control, a different series. And I will be publishing new material, but I'm trying to get a consumer base online, because my previous consumer base was solely in the city, my city, Chicago. I dedicated 13 years of my life trying to empower and uplift my city. So now I'm trying to actually work on this online situation, this YouTube marketing, whatever. Get these earbuds. I got these t-shirts. Life is easy. Live easy. Get my Live Easy t-shirts. Get those. But yeah, this is my online store for now. You should go there, or you ain't black. You ain't black if you don't go to this and purchase all these books. You definitely ain't black. But yeah, the purpose of this video, the title is Jealousy is the Enemy. Jealousy is your worst enemy. And you say, what is jealousy? What exactly is it? It's not something that's physical. It's not tangible. It's something that's within the individual's thoughts and their heart. But according to Islam, jealousy is an accursed shaitan which was cast out of heaven, because jealousy began when man was created. According to the Quran, I don't want to get into it, but it's in the second surah. But so-called Lucifer, or Iblis in the Quran, Iblis was jealous that God gave man more authority and more knowledge than him. And he was jealous, and he refused to obey when he was told to submit and bow to man. He decided not to do it, so he was cast out, and that's envy. But envy is a situation in which a person will focus more on the jealous you will focus more on a person who you're envy of than your own self. It could be a situation in which a person might be having a spouse that you is jealous of, even though you might have a spouse yourself. But you will focus your whole attention on this person's spouse, trying to gain this person's spouse, trying to sabotage this person's relationship, and you'll end up losing your own relationship. And that's the thing about envy. It will cause man to be destroyed. It will cause man to fall, because you lose sight on your own success, your own progress, or your own position in life, your own position in this world. You will just focus on that particular thing, which you probably have no control over. And if you do have control over it, you might go to prison. Find out you're trying to sabotage this one person. Or you might be successful. But the whole thing is, you won't be successful and what you were interested in before this person caused you the envy, or before your own insecurities caused you the jealousy of this other thing, this other person's success. You hate the person's success. You ever notice when you give a person good news, they always seem to just walk away. I gotta go. Your good fortune hurts them. It makes them feel bad because it reminds them of their shortcomings. But when you tell a person bad news, tell them about your mistakes or your downfall, your misery, they'll be willing to talk to you about this forever because they love to hear your downfall, your misfortune. You know, you sometimes you have to, if you do have good fortune, you have to withhold that from people because envy will cause a person to be your enemy. Even though envy is the enemy, but the reason for your enemies usually is envy. And they could be used as a tool to figure out what you're doing great so you could expand on that. You got to actually use the envious person or the envy itself as a beacon, because a lot of people who have something, good qualities, success, or they're excelling at something, it's hard for them to see it in themselves because it's second nature. But you can use a person's envy to let you know exactly what that is, so you can know what your true value really is. And then you could, make it better, or you could actually take it to another level. So it's good sometimes to take people's envy to let you see your own self, because a person will never be envious or jealous unless there's something good going on with you. You seldom see a person jealous of a man living in a tent on a corner, or living under a bridge, or a person that's so-called less fortunate. But that's the reason for so-called racism and white supremacy, is because the so-called Caucasians, they know the history that you don't know. They know what you did to them. They know what your true value is if you had an opportunity to actually, go on your own. They know what you're capable of. They know you're able to endure harsh situations, harsh weather, the sunlight. They know you will find a way to smile and be happy. They jealous of that. They want that because they feel that you have something that they lack. And they blame God for bestowing this upon you. And they hate you for it. They'll rather you be destroyed and out the way than for you to continue on. Because as long as you continue on, as long as your prowess, as long as your success, as long as your superiority is being shown, that diminishes their value and their worth in the world's eyes, because everybody is in a constant state of comparison and contrast. And they're comparing you to them. And that will make them so-called lose value. It's like when you go into real estate and it's a blighted community. Those blighted communities are being compared, those blighted houses is being compared to the nice houses. And those blighted houses on average will bring down the value of those nice looking houses. So what people try to do in order to secure and protect the value of their homes, they will try to have those raggedy houses demolished and destroyed, taken off the rolls, taken off the registry. That's what it is, the registry. Cook County Recorder of Deeds. They will have them houses removed and destroyed, rather than sometimes they will encourage renovation of those houses, because if those houses are uplifted, that will bring the value of the whole community up, rather than just destroying a house. But it's the reverse with the so-called black people. The so-called black people are the mansions, the very valuable houses. These other people are the blighted houses, and they don't know how to uplift themselves, and they have too much ego and pride to try to convince the so-called black people to uplift them, because there's so much animosity. They have done so much wickedness to the so-called black people. The other option for them is to just destroy the blacks, just get them out the way, and that's going to cause their so-called collective value to go up. But envy It's something that it's a living entity. And a cursed shaitan is a jinn who was cast out of heaven, because all the jinn weren't cast out. They say in the Holy Bible, Satan took a third of heaven with him. Those are jinn. And when you look at cartoons, they have it. They have when a person make a decision, on the left side you'll see the devil, on the right side you'll see an angel. See, those are two jinns. The left jinn is an accursed shaitan. The one on the right is a good one, because some jinn can actually be righteous. They have free will, but they're just etherical beings made of higher elements, and they're not capable of enjoying the physical realm without without living vicariously through a human being. In Catholicism, they call this possession. But when you look at the genie with the ability to make wishes, to bend the natural world, to defy physics, this is actually the ability of the jinn. They have this same ability, but I ain't gonna get into that. But the way to deal with envy is, when you catch it, you must reject it. Don't cause yourself to be jealous. Turn that jealousy into appreciation and motivation. Let that person's success motivate you to do your thing, to get to make your abilities and your dreams come true. Because envy will cloud your own vision and your own path, and you will waste your entire life trying to sabotage another person. And I always want to talk about this particular situation that happened, I think, in 2009. It was a man similar to in the Bible, the book of Second Samuel. When King David was the king, and he was jealous of a man, a Hittite, who was married to a beautiful Judite woman, Bathsheba. The Hittite name was Uriah. And David said, "Who is that woman over there?" He said, "That's Uriah's wife, the Hittite." And David was jealous. He told them to get her, bring her to him, and he got her pregnant. And then he ended up getting Uriah killed in the army, put him on the most worst battle on the front line. So to guarantee that he died, and then David went and married Bathsheba, wicked. And then God destroyed David for that. He destroyed all of his descendants for that. Solomon was the second child from that arrangement, King Solomon. And Jesus came from that lineage of Bathsheba, but they all had to be pierced with the sword. The sword will never depart from thine house, because he did this evil, jealous thing. You know, his kids was fighting, killing each other, jealous of each other, fighting over the throne. When David died, all of the other kids was trying to see who was going to be the next king, and Solomon ended up being the next king, the child of that wicked arrangement. But it was a situation in real life. A man was having a problem with his fiance, and they was building an empire together, a great publishing global empire, and they had a problem. But he never knew the third parties who was really involved in trying to sabotage their relationship. So they separated for a while. And a woman went to this man who was interested in her ability. He wanted to actually take what she was doing for the other man and apply it to him, because he felt that she was the reason for their success. So instead of him telling her, the other man, when she had advice about what should she do with this relationship, he told her to leave the guy, and he got a friend that she might be interested. He introduced the other guy's fiance to his own friend, and they ended up getting together. And the first arrangement was totally ruined. The woman threw away everything they was working on together to go with this other guy, and then she ended up joining the other people group to help them do what we was doing. They actually copied what we was doing. She actually started helping them do it, and then she went from being a CEO to just a little employee on the side. Threw away your position and power position like that, because he felt that we weren't making any money. or they weren't making any money, and the other people were making the money and had the influence and a impact that she actually wanted. So she ended up leaving the guy. But the third party that the first guy had no knowledge of, he was advising the woman, but he advised her in a way to benefit himself, and he actually destroyed that relationship because he could have told her, because she would have listened to anything he said. He could have told her to go back and work it out, but he didn't. So he indirectly was the cause of their separation and demise. This third party. But what happened to him, because he didn't realize envy, and envy will destroy you. He didn't understand karma. Why does karma happen? Now people say, oh, it's just happenstance, whatever. It just happens. But the world itself has to be an intelligent design, and we have to have like entities, or we have to be observed by another power in order for this karma to really happen the way it does. Because a few years later, the guy who ended up indirectly sabotaging or directly sabotaging the first guy's fiance marriage, his wife ended up getting breast cancer. And this guy used to tell people about holistic medicine, eating healthy, all of this knowledge of self stuff, right? But when it was time for him to practice it, to prove the stuff that he was putting in these books, he went to the hospital and put her on chemotherapy, $500 a pill, chemotherapy, and she died within a year. He ruined a man's wife situation, and it came right back on him. But his is even worse because his wife ended up dying. And when I saw that, I lost all types of animosity to them. I lost everything. Like, I ain't want to think about it no more because that was scary to me. See, these people who did this, they don't even believe in God. They think they're gods, right? Gods and earths. So they think that they're in charge of everything. I'm like, if you're the God, right, why don't you heal your wife from breast cancer? Why do you go to the doctors and put on chemotherapy? Because chemotherapy will kill you regardless if you got cancer or not. And a person can't really be diagnosed with a disease unless a doctor tell you really can't have a disease, according to United States Food and Drug Administration, unless a doctor tell you have a disease. But a doctor could tell you anything and give you the medicine to treat the disease, but a lot of times the medicine could actually cause the disease. Like I was looking at these articles on this hospital in Chicago. It's people who actually accused them of misdiagnosing them of cancer and then gave them treatment that caused them irreparable damage. And it's like many situations like that all over the world, all over America, where people are suing because they was mixed diagnosed with cancer. And sometimes it could cause death. But envy itself will destroy you. It will come back. And envy is an accursed shaitan according to Islam. And the so-called black people, if you want to listen to these conscious communities, we were Muslims longer than we were Christians. And we actually did believe these things at one point. You know, that the envy is a shaitan, a jinn. And if envy is a jinn, envy is observing us. And we do reap what we sow. And that guy who ruined that person's relationship, who ruined that and introduced his own friend to that woman, he got his recompense hard. His wife ended up dying of breast cancer within a few years. And I couldn't believe it. I ain't think about them ever since. And the first woman is still alive. The one who actually was in a relationship with the first guy, she's still alive. But that dude's wife is dead. But yeah, envy is the enemy. That's the point I'm trying to make. And the way to deal with envy is to cast it out, reject it totally. There's no understanding it. You just got to reverse it into appreciation. You got to just reverse the negative feelings that come from envy. and use it as motivation. That's the only way to deal with it. Or another way to deal with it is to just not have emotions, but that's another story. That's what my book, Mind Control, is about, getting over your emotions. But yeah, that's it for today. If you're not going to my website and buying these books, you ain't black.